Good afternoon everybody and welcome to Paul Ricard in the south of France for the third round of the 2013 Blancpain Endurance Series. My name is Jack Nichols. I'm going to be commentating for you throughout this 3-hour race with the assistance of John Watson, who at the moment is down there on the grid. As I say, it's the third round of the series and we've already had an action-packed opening 2 3-hour races at Monza and at Silverstone. And both were very entertaining, and it means that leading the championship is the Ramos Rigon Zampieri Kessel Racing Ferrari. And Kessel Racing are a team who won here last year. 27 degrees, the air temperature, 36 degrees pretty much the track temperature. It's the warmest event of the season so far, and that is going to play into the hands of some teams whilst compromising other teams. That's things that we'll get onto later in the race. And there you can see the crowd ready to watch this race. So before we go down to the grid, let's have a look back at the top stories coming into this weekend. ART Grand Prix have had a good start to their season, often being the quickest McLaren out there. And Frenchman Mike Parisi is looking forward to his home race.
I am very happy in first to be here in France. It's a big meeting for me and I am very happy to work with ART Grand Prix and McLaren at this occasion. I am very happy and very motivated to do a very good job this weekend.
The Speed Car team are a new entry to the Blancpain Endurance Series here in Paul Ricard, and in Dino Lunardi they have a GT driver with proven experience in their Audi R8.
I know very well the Audi, so it's for that the Speed Car take me and put me on the car. I think the Audi has a very good potential to get a good position here. Everything is possible when you have 60 cars at the same time on the track.
After winning the opening race of the season and a decent performance last time out at Silverstone, Kessel Racing arrive at Paul Ricard leading the Pro Series, and Davide Rigon is hoping they can keep up their good form.
It's a pleasure to be first. We suffered a bit in Silverstone. In Monza we are okay, so it's nice to be in the front of a 62 car. The championship is very tough, very difficult. I don't know if we can fight for pole position, but our main important thing is to be in the podium for the race. That is our target.
Another new entrant for this weekend is regular FIA GT Series team HTP Motorsport. Maximilian Buch and Luca Ludwig will be joined in the Mercedes by Israeli Alan Day.
It's first time in endurance racing. I came from sprint races. I still race in the FIA GT Sprint Series. It's something new for me. It's 60 cars, you never know what happened. It's a lot of strategy, which is something I'm not really familiar with. I'm looking forward.
Whilst the BMWs have been struggling in the Pro class, in the Pro-Am it's a BMW leading the series. TDS Racing, in the hands of Henri Acide and Ludovic Badi, come to Paul Ricard at the top of those standings, and Ludovic is confident of another strong performance at their home race.
Yeah, the beginning of the season is very good with my teammate. We are leading the championship with 2 other cars. And we are really happy to be in front because if we can win here, it should be a very good operation for the championship.
There's another Nissan on the grid this weekend as well. JMB Racing will be in the Pro-Am category. British driver Jody Fannin will be joined by Frenchman Nicolas Mislam.
I'm very exciting because I am at home because I have a workshop on the track, but it's very difficult because of more traffic. But very good level. Historically, GMB raced with Maserati and Ferrari, but I would like to work with Nissan, and I hope a good result with this car.
The ARC Bratislava Porsche 997 of Miro Konopka and Ahmed Al-Hadi won the Gentleman's Trophy at Silverstone last time out, and Al-Hadi is hoping they can keep up that momentum this weekend.
Blancpain has been a very good season so far. Monza, Silverstone, and I think Silverstone was the highlight for me. It's going to be definitely tough here in France. It's my first time here and we need to find more time. I always do believe that with the Porsche it's always going to be a strong car in the race. So we're really not worried at the moment, but for sure there's more time to find and we'll find it.
So earlier on there was a moment's silence held here at the Paul Ricard circuit in memory of Alan Simonson, who of course lost his life last week at Le Mans. And also, unfortunately this morning, Andrea Mame lost his life in a Lamborghini Super Trofeo race here at the Paul Ricard circuit. And as a mark of respect, the Blancpain Lamborghini Reiter squad have withdrawn both of their cars from this race, and everyone from the Blancpain Endurance Series and SRO would like to extend their condolences to both families. But we have a race to be getting on with here in Paul Ricard, a 3-hour GT spectacular with just short of 60 cars. The race director has decided this will be a safety car start. So here's a look at the grid from front to back. There's the two McLarens alongside each other. Very good qualifying from the 23 Nissan, the JRM car. Peter Dumbreck qualified well and will start that car. Then we've got the first of the ART McLarens on the right-hand side in their home race. The Von Ryan Racing McLaren there on the right-hand side as well. The first of the Gulf Racing McLarens on the left-hand side. Then the first of the Phoenix Audis, number 6 there on the right. Really struggling to get the best out of the car are Oliver Jarvis, Christopher Haas and Harold Prima. Christopher Haas will start that car. J&B Racing 555 are entering a Nissan for this race. This is their home race, literally, because their factory and workshop is in the centre of the circuit here in Paul Ricard. There's Enzo Eads, Phoenix Audi as well further back. The V1 BMW there on the right-hand side. Bit of a disappointment because they looked very, very quick in free practice 1. They were running within the top 10 all session, but couldn't pull it out when it mattered in qualifying. There's Ahmed Al-Hati, who we heard from in the pre-show in car 66. And then right down at the back of the grid, we've got Sport Garage. Michael Petit will start that car, and alongside it, the Porsche of Delahaye Racing, which Christian Kelders will be starting. And that's the rather daunting view from the back of the grid down to the front of the grid. So the race gets underway. The safety car pulls clear, and the cars head off. And the 3 hours has begun. The safety car comes in and the race proper gets underway here at Paul Ricard. Jelmer Berman leads them across the line. It's Klaus Hummel behind in the Black Falcon Mercedes, but right behind him is Maximilian Buch. Buch might be looking to take second place on the run down into turn 1 for the first time, and he's managed to do it. Caught Klaus a little bit unawares, and Maximilian Buch in the HTP Motorsport entry moves up into second place, and soon Davide Rigon will be attacking Klaus Hummel as well. He's got the McLaren of Parent right behind. On board we go, running down into turn 3, and Parent not close enough this time. But the McLarens are some of the quickest cars in a straight line, and there is going to be the move, I think. The Kessel Racing Ferrari gets past Klaus Hummel now. Alvaro Parent will follow swiftly through as they all wind their way down through turn 3. The hairpin at the bottom end of the circuit before they wind back up onto the Mistral Straight. The SMP Ferrari is attacking there, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Ferrari and the McLaren battle going into the chicane.
Indeed, well, Alvaro Parent trying to get a slipstream off the back of the Ferrari. The Mercedes had started on the front row of the grid. Of course, Klaus Hummel is a bronze driver, and he's been mullered literally by all the pro drivers around him. It was a great job by Adam Christodoulou, who'd get that car, the gold driver in that Pro-Am partnership. But of course, he's not going to be in the car until later this afternoon.
An awful lot of pressure being put on this Nissan. We're looking back at the Kirill Ladygin. We're on board with Wolfgang Reip, but you can see Ladygin was just pulling away a little bit. And this is now Klaus Hummel has lost out to Frederic Vervisch.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, it's almost a relief, because the pressure of starting at the front row of a grid of any motor race, and especially a race of a field of 60 cars, never easy, as we see. Alvaro Parent once again trying to find a way around that Ferrari of Davide Rigon and not having very much success, and I doubt he will have much success unless the Ferrari falters somewhere in this opening lap or two.
So on board we are with the Portuguese driver, the very experienced McLaren driver, part of the McLaren factory team essentially. Worked on the development of the car an awful lot, but Jelmer Berman streams across the line. There's the battle for third place going on, and behind we've got Klaus Hummel now about to get passed by the second Mark VDS car of Henri Moser. Moser pushed right out onto the outside of the circuit and can't get through. They are battling over 8th place at the moment.
Frankly, I don't know whether Klaus Hummel was aware the BMW was coming down the right-hand side of the track, not the side you'd anticipate an overtake to go. But now, as they break down into turn 3, even the BMW is coming under a threat. But
Nick Holmerson,
well, he's not able to make it stick. But you know, the Mercedes, Klaus Hummel is acting as a roadblock Now dives down the inside, tags the back of the Mercedes, and that's what's going to happen. You're going to have a traffic jam as the BMW hops, skips and jumps, not only tagging the Mercedes but taking some of its own bodywork off over the curb in that's turn 4, turn 5.
So that's a real shame for Klaus Hommel. It was always going to be a difficult job for him. And I think Henri Moser, Henri Moser might have trouble here. The Mark VDS car is crawling. Right rear puncture.
It's a puncture, it's the right rear puncture. When he hit the curb, he hit it in an aggressive way.
I think he hit the car again. I think he hit Hummel again.
He may well have done, but certainly the contact of that or the going over the curb responsible for that tire suddenly deflating. And 2 cars unnecessarily, in my opinion. There could have been a little bit more cooperation. There's no doubt that Henri Moser was the quicker of the 2, but of course, when you're in that pressure situation, you've got the blinkers on, you maybe don't have time to look in the mirrors and be aware of faster traffic coming through.
He's now coming under pressure, and there you can see the puncture for Henri Moser. So still not a disastrous weekend yet for Mark VDS Racing. And well, here's a look at the replay. He put it up the inside. Is he far enough alongside? That's the question, I guess.
In reality, no, but it was the tag itself wasn't the problem. It was here. It's somewhere in that incident going around the back of the Mercedes that then the tyre got damaged, and that's why it's lost all the air or nitrogen as they put into the tyres these days. The gap now across the line was just under 2 seconds. It still remains 1.9.
Yep, lapping very similarly on that last lap. Yama Berman was 1/10 of a second quicker than Maximilian Buch, and that's all. Here's the battle between the Nissan and the McLaren, and Peter Dumbrecker's got it done. A good move there to go around the outside of the Verviche. Sorry, it's Dumont starting that car. So that's Peter Dumbrecker up into 5th position in the JRM Nissan as these cars stream across the line non-stop. And there's battles all the way through, but it's Yama Berman in the Mark VDS BMW who has the lead at the moment.
This is going to be a long 3 hours for many of the drivers. You can see the field is, in part because we had a rolling start behind the safety car, is much more strung out than you'd anticipate from the normal start that we'd expect in a Blancpain event. Look down through the field, you've got 7, 8 cars all squabbling over virtually the one bit of tarmac they all want, and it is going to be rough, tough in there. The Aston Martin, Ferrari, Mercedes, what else is there? Just a lot of Ferraris, and the Porsche trying to elbow its way past.
This is all lower down the field, just trying to figure out where. This is all over about 34th position, I think, essentially, because we've got the Porsche in there, which is being driven at the moment by Xavier Massin. They'll be down in 38th place, which is disappointing. We just saw the Mark VDS BMW has made it back towards the pits.
The race is still, only 18 minutes old, and everybody is still shuffling around. I mean, a dive down the inside from the Gulf McLaren takes a place away, and this is like your worst traffic jam, but it's happening at very high speed, and you can't really watch every part of your car, front, left, right, rear, whatever. There's just so much traffic. Once this sort of draws breath, and the gaps you can see here coming down the straight, I mean, it is absolutely, almost a driver's nightmare, because he doesn't know what to do unless he gets a clean, clear overtake at somebody. All you're going to do is put yourself into jeopardy if you're not certain you can get the job done. But this looks like an overtake from the McLaren, looking to come a long way around the exit out of turn 9B. But the grunt from the Nissan, the McLaren can't do anything about it. Yep. It is seen. The McLaren may have a small advantage, but it has to drop back a little bit, otherwise it loses downforce in the nose.
It's Rob Bell in the McLaren challenging Wolfgang Reip, all over 12th place, with then the 88 Ferrari in front. And there's the move from Rob Bell. Good stuff. Saw that move and planned it nicely, and he goes through. And now he will try and chase down Nick Hommerson. Meanwhile, the 2 RJN Nissans go side by side. This is the recovering from a disappointing qualifying, Alex Buncombe. He goes past now as we go back on board with Reip. And that is Alex Buncombe, his teammate, now up in front. And Reip is running 4th in class. And the Frank Stippler Audi is involved in there as well. And in fact, the Audi's just got past the Nissan, but the Audi is really struggling in a straight line. Look at this.
Look at that. That was a bit of blocking there. Suddenly, the Nissan just drags up and overtakes the Audi down the left-hand side of pit straight. and looked like there was a bit of defence coming from Frank Stippeler, but he realised the speed that Nissan had, there was nothing much he could do. It was coming through, and it's a big car.
And there was a yellow flag in that corner apparently because of this M-Tech Ferrari that is in a bit of trouble.
Rob Bell's done it again.
Yep.
Dived down the inside into turn 3, I think that was, and makes a good clean pass. Good motor racing coming from this bunch of cars just outside the top 6.
Yama Berman still leading the way. Everything is fairly standard up at the front.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically everybody's got a 2.5 second gap between first, second, third, fourth. So all the action that we're watching here on screen is coming in the midfield, where one car may actually be the catalyst of allowing 5 or 6 or 7 all to join into this sort of long train of cars. And until one of them can make the break, then it's going to be pretty much nose to tail. And if you find yourself out of position due to a poor qualifying but a much better race pace, it's a real problem. You've just got to be patient. You can't force issues, particularly where contact can lead to a pit stop. It can lead to, we saw just earlier in the race, where the BMW got a damaged tyre, and that was just due to light contact. There's the Ferrari going around, under braking into turn 1. And that was really as much under braking that he lost control rather than actually in the corner itself.
Yeah, it's a curious one, and oh, it's a bit hot in there. The aircon's not working, so we'll open the door, says Klaus Hummel.
Yeah, that's got to be a pit stop, and somebody drives literally and he's driven off the racetrack to stop. Now, is he going to get out and close the door, or what's he going to do, because he cannot reach it from where he's sitting in the car? Well, he's decided, I don't know what that's all about.
He stopped to reach across and realised he couldn't.
He can't, there's no way. I mean, there's that, he'd have to have arms about 6.5 feet long, or put it into modern terms, just under 3 metres. We didn't do meters in school, and then he drives way out again. Really strange. I mean, is he looking for a marshal's post to try and get somebody to close that door for him? But if he's trying to find a marshal's post, he's not succeeding. He's got,
here he comes.
In your own time, mate. Yeah, well done.
Now, are we going to see a Sergio Jimenez?
Oh, let's open. I think there's a problem with the latch, as they say. And he's going to have to make it back to the pits and have a, let's put it in this way, it's going to come under the 12 month, no, it's a 3-year warranty in one of these. So the pits will be removed, and frustrating.
Now, this one is our race leader, Yama Berman, the Mark VDS machine. Oh, and there's the Haribo Porsche out of the race. And we think it just pulled off, unfortunately, so that's the end of the race for Christian Menzel, Emmanuel Collard and Mike Stursberg. And there, unfortunately, is a problem for Henri Assis. Looks like he's had a bit of contact on that front left.
Yeah, a bit of contact. You can see the carbon fibre. Here it is.
Okay.
Oh, it wasn't contact. That was, well, you know,
barge.
I got to see your World Rally, what do you call it, wrestling, and that was a real wrestling manoeuvre. I mean, up against the ropes and still sticking it in him. I mean, that was aggressive overtaking, and no doubt will also rile the stewards, and may well suffer a penalty. The penalty, of course, here is compounded by the fact of the damage that you've done to your car. Interestingly, just Yalma Berman in the last couple of laps has managed to pull over half a second over Maximilian Buch in second place in the Mercedes.
Here comes the challenge then, down into the chicane. Matt Bell up the inside of Antoine Leclerc, and through he goes. So Leclerc's lost a little bit of pace in these last couple of laps.
Yeah, I mean, if you get overtaken, it can be unsettling, and then you're looking in your mirror rather than looking ahead. So you're driving left, right in the mirrors, and there's no real interior mirrors in these cars. So your concentration and your focus sometimes can begin to look rearward rather than keeping ahead of what you need to do. So Antoine Leclerc, who did a great job, by the way, in Monza, the opening round of the Blancpain Series, just maybe struggling and suffering a little bit from the pressure of that the Gulf Racing McLaren when it made its way through, and then there is the
number 5 McLaren,
yep,
the leader of the Pro-Am class, has had a little bit of a trouble. Now, is that a spin for David Damont, or is that?
Well,
he wasn't with anyone, was he?
I think that's a turn 14. I don't know how he managed to get it out there. Well, I do actually, because if you come off turn 11 and into turn 12, if you're wrong off 11, then you can find your way actually getting it all wrong by the time you get to turn 12.
Rob Bath in the 88 Von Ryan Racing McLaren is now into the lead of the Pro-Am category and up into 7th place. It also promotes Kirill Ladygin to 6th overall. And there is the 16 Phoenix Racing Audi. A long way down the order of Marcus Finkelhock in 22nd place. This is how difficult it is when you're the race leader to try and get through the
gap
traffic.
is down to half a second. In fact, it's less than that.
See,
side by side. So Maximilian Buch has really benefited from the traffic right now, literally in the slipstream. Let's look
and look, he's on the outside going up into Scene Curve. The battle for the lead of the race. Maximilian Buch is right with Hjalmar Berman then as they head into the triple left-hander, triple right-hander I should say, at turn 11.
Yeah, no doubt the traffic that these two cars have just had to get through. It looks like Hjalmar Berman was the loser. He's managed to get things, I think, under control. Maximilian Buch did have that run out of turn 10, up to turn 10, I should say, into Scene. And so now it's a little bit of breathing space for Hjalmar Berman, albeit maybe less than a second, but it was better than it was about 5 corners ago.
And Alvaro Parente's closed in on both of them. The gap between him and the race leader is now 3.7 seconds.
For Hjalmar Berman, it's again a worrying time. He's got to assess where can I get past the Porsche first of all, but not let Maximilian Buch behind me and the Mercedes take advantage. Let's watch as they come down into turn 3. Well, Hjalmar Berman's doing the right thing in that he's not trying to overrun the Porsche. He knows the Mercedes can't do anything either because he's using the bit of the racetrack that Maximilian Buch wants. Now he's got to get himself wound up to get the BMW ahead of the Porsche as they come onto this Scene straight, riding in the Porsche.
Yep, he's about to be lapped, so what's he going to do here, Ahmed Al-Hati? He looks in his mirrors.
Pass me, he's saying. So what side's the BMW? It's got to go down the left-hand side, go past, but the Porsche's got good straight line speed.
Yeah.
And look, you see almost the Mercedes now getting up alongside, but the BMW on the inside into turn 8 gets the car stopped.
Oh,
now the long
look at the
way
McLaren.
around to the Mercedes. Can it get the advantage on the exit? No, the BMW's got it.
The McLaren parked almost on the apex there of the corner. He's now Buch's going to try and get in the slipstream in the Mercedes. And then pull to the inside going up into Scene. This is a bit of a strange manoeuvre. He's done it. Buch's pulled it off.
What an amazing, well, that was opportunistic, but well thought out by Maximilian Buch.
Alvaro Parente's right with them now as well. What a move from Max Buch. I didn't want to believe he could do that, but he managed to pull it off because Scene's not a place to overtake.
The trouble is Hjalmar Berman didn't have the straight line speed to get ahead going into the Scene corner. Maximilian Buch got the slipstream off the car they were lapping and just stuck it up the inside. And by the time Hjalmar Berman got to Scene, the Mercedes was ahead, and he was compromised simply by just being in the wrong part of the racetrack, but also not having the speed at the point he needed it. And of course this has allowed Alvaro Parente and the McLaren, the Hexus McLaren, the lead McLaren in this race, to catch up now to the tail of Hjalmar Berman, who has led this race up until the lap we're on, coming up to the conclusion of lap 17, and so it is now Mercedes, BMW, McLaren. The BMW comes into the pits, Hjalmar Berman. So second place car into the pit lane now, and this will be ultimately part of a three-way battle for who will actually lead the race once the first round of pit stops are concluded. Have Hexus done enough as they've done in the past? We know how good they are, but Mark VDS, again, top professional team, and they're not going to lose a second if they can avoid it.
So Mark VDS are right at the top of the pit lane, literally right by the entrance to the pits. And
it's
so we'll see. Oh, and that is Christopher Haas in the Phoenix Audi. He was running in 12th place, just ahead of his teammate Marcus Winkelhock.
Well, he
so
won't be
hopefully
now.
they didn't come together.
So there is Stefan Dusseldorp out on his first flying lap. We assume maybe it's now his second flying lap. In fact, he'll have had that lap at the time that we saw the car leave the pit lane. So fresh tyres, of course, car will feel refreshed, as well as having a fresh driver behind the wheel. You put on new rubber and all of a sudden the car is transformed. And it's the end of a long 1 hour stint.
It's a drive-through penalty for Kirill Ladygin for contact with David Dermont. So Kirill Ladygin in the SMP Ferrari will have to take a drive-through penalty. So of the leaders, the last man to pit is Maximilian Buch. Out of the pits now comes, now that's interesting, the Mark VDS car is going to come out behind the Hexus McLaren, is it? It's going to be tight. No,
it's
not quite.
Just looking, getting an eye for the time for Steph Dusseldorp. And
Look at that, very close. Steph Dusseldorp now right up behind the back of the 3 car, which is now in the hands of Bas Leinders. So this is the battle over net second place.
He's got to pounce now. He's got to make his move as quickly as possible. There he goes down the inside. Can he get alongside cleanly? Yes, he does. Good pass. Well done, Steph Dusseldorp. Bas Leinders, of course, on an outlap is inherently going to be marginally more cautious than Steph Dusseldorp, who has had the benefit of 1 or maybe 2 laps. Car is settled, tyres are working temperature. But you know, he's not all over and done, because although he's got ahead of the BMW, Bas Leinders is in a position to try and pick up the slipstream as they come onto the Mistral straight, still running close behind the back of the McLaren. Comes out to get a little bit look down the inside, but not close enough to have a serious attempt to take that position. Traditionally, he just rejoined the track in and lost in the space of 3 corners.
Into the pits then comes Maximilian Buch, the race leader. Here he is on screen now. He is going to hand over, I believe, to Lucas Ludwig. Climbing into the car. Well, yes, it is, because it's not Alan Day, so it's Lucas Ludwig taking over.
Interesting,
Ludwig, I should say.
Steph Dusseldorf's last lap on fresh rubber, obviously with more fuel on board, compared to the real leader of this race who just come into the pits, Maximilian Buch. 0.2 of a second quicker than Mercedes was on the McLaren. So the Mercedes is doing a good job on worn or used tyres, albeit with a lot less fuel on board.
Okay, so Luca Ludwig we saw getting strapped in to the HDP Motorsport Mercedes. And so it's all going to be about that pace from Steph Dusseldorp that John was just talking about. Is that outlap pace enough for the Hexis to get past into the lead of the race? He's already got into second place.
Easy, because he's coming through the final corner onto pit straight, and the Mercedes is just beginning to, there it is, hasn't even got all the wheels and tyres changed. Been a disaster for the team. They're only now getting the final wheel on. The McLaren has gone through there. You can see
the door's open. The door's open on the Mercedes, and that's a disaster. Absolute disaster for the HDP squad. The door popped open just as it drove past our commentary box, and that has ruined their race, because they'll have to stop and get it shut.
Well, he's not going to stop around the racetrack and get a marshal to stop it. He's going to drive back to the pits. And of course the aerodynamics of the car and everything about the car, and goodness knows what's going on within the cockpit, in the helmet from young Luca Ludwig. He's got to be careful. What he doesn't want to do is come back at race speed. And there we see Maximilian Buch, Dominic Baumann, I beg your pardon, looking absolutely frustrated and perplexed that why did the door, that wasn't the door that the driver exited and entered from, why is the one on the other side open?
Yeah, that's true actually.
Is there a virus going around with these doors?
Here we go then, across the line then. Dusseldorp is now leading the race for Hexis McLaren. Second place then is Bas Leinders, who's staying with Steph Dusseldorp at the moment. Third place is Cesar Ramos, about 5 seconds behind the front 2. So there you'll just see the red Kessel Ferrari at the back of the shop.
Yeah, all 3 lead cars running in the 2 minutes 08.6 to 8 seconds. So there's very little to choose between the first 3 cars in their lap time. But of course, there's a little bit of a gap between second and third.
Mike Parisi, the ART Grand Prix McLaren, has done a brilliant job to be up to 5th place, because the ART car were kind of running lower reaches of the top 10, but Parisi's now guiding them up into 5th place. Then Nico Verdonk is in 6th in the Gulf Racing McLaren. Laurence Vanthoor is the first of the WRT Audis in 8th. Luca Ludwig, after his door problem, is in 9th place. Here comes Bas Leinders coming down the back straight, and this should be the move for the lead. Oh, the McLaren's good on the brakes there, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, certainly it was on the brakes later than Bas was. Bas, of course, on the inside had to slow down more because of the acuteness of the corner he was about to approach, and that allowed Steph Dusseldorp to be able to run that a little bit later and then have the advantage at the point of turn. And again, that's the 69 car. It's been flashing since pretty much the early part of the race, and it's still flashing. I don't know. Oh, it's both of them going. In fact, he's on the flicker in the car to tell these cars that I'm coming through. I'm a quick car. I'm in a battle, and please respect my race. I'm not doing anything to upset yours.
And it's Nico Verdonk who's actually trying to close in on Mike Parisi. There's only 1.7 seconds between them. There's been a bit of a a sea change up at the front. Look at all of a sudden, Steph Dusseldorf has pulled out a big old lead over Bas Linders, 1.6 as they came across the line. Add another 4 seconds, 4 tenths in the second sector, so it's 2 seconds now,
strange,
the gap.
the last lap, actually, Bas Linders was quicker by 2 tenths of a second.
Linders is only 4 tenths clear of Cesar Ramos, so Ramos has been closing in, and now he is finally right with the BMWs. And here comes Ramos.
Well,
Ramos has got a great run, coming out onto the Mistral straight. He looks to the outside line as they come down into the chicane. Linders will have the inside. We've seen him be poor on the brakes, and the job is done. Easy peasy. Cesar Ramos in the Kessel Racing Ferrari championship leaders up into second place. But there is the Hex's car.
But more importantly, they're in the thick of all this traffic.
And they've only got half a second advance. In fact, is the Ferrari in front?
Absolutely
the Ferrari's in front here.
Yep, Cesar Ramos has got through.
So Cesar Ramos in the 44 car is now in the lead of the race. Somewhere through all this traffic, the Kessel Racing Ferrari has moved into the lead. As we cross the halfway point in this race, the leaders of the championship are now the leaders of the race. And the team hanging out of the pit wall to try and see whether it's true or not. When they come past, they will get confirmation that Cesar Ramos, in a brilliant stint, has moved into the lead.
Absolutely, and I mean the key, I'm sure, has been once again the sort of flock, if you like to call it, of cars. There's maybe 8 or 9 cars all battled.
There's the reaction. That's Davide Rigon there.
Yeah, he's delighted with that, and you can see the McLaren now. It's got trapped by the lap cars and meeting them at difficult parts of the racetrack. Still stuck behind that Audi, and well, he will find that frustrating.
Steve Jans' Black Falcon Mercedes is a back marker. It's a very quick back marker because it was on the front row of the grid, but it is a back marker nevertheless. And as they stream across the line, this is ultimately the battle over 6th position. Verdonk, as I say, and Alexander Scriabin. They're also, Laurens Vanthoor's with them, but not really keeping up the pace. But this will be real frustration for Nico Verdonk.
It is, because you know you're pushing your foot through the foot belt to try and get more and more performance, and the Mercedes SLS ahead of you is just pulling away under acceleration, and it's just doing sufficient to put it into that zone where you can't quite make the dive down the inside. Now he can close up possibly as under pressure.
Oh,
the Ferrari.
there's a look from Scriabin. Did he go?
A great pass, and look also the other McLaren side by side now.
Verviche is going to go through.
And what a big, well, how did Verdonk get that one so badly wrong?
Well, it looked to me as though Scriabin might have actually gone over the inside of the corner, and maybe it was just the camera angle, but he has now made the move anyway, up into 6th position, and Nico Verdonk has lost 2 places.
Verdonk was really focusing very much on the Mercedes, trying to position himself to get past it, and he forgot that he's got a very aggressive and racy Ferrari looking at every opportunity, but it's the McLaren, the Pro-Am car, which is doing outstanding job here this afternoon. It's going to be a candidate, in my view, if there was a driver of the day, well, it's got to be that gentleman in the McLaren right now, trying to get alongside. He's gone alongside and taken the position from the Ferrari. Well, oh, and how good is that? There's another McLaren.
That's Carlos Cray, who has gone off there. Yep, Carlos Cray in 49th place has had a bit of a moment. So Frederic Verviche then, throughout all that, is now up into 6th place. 7th place is Scriabin, 8th place is Verdonk, and 9th place is Laurens Vanthoor.
And I mean, they're going nuts. These 4 cars are sort of scrapping amongst themselves.
But Laurens Vanthoor's just been removed from the fight because he's been given a drive-through penalty for not respecting the track limits. Steph Dusseldorf in the pits. And we've commentated together too much, I think. Dusseldorf in the pits, as is the Mark VDS car. Maxime Martin taking over, so it's a bit of a straight pit stop fight, this. Alexander Sims getting into the car. Hexis and Mark VDS are fairly close together up at the top end of the pit lane. So which car will be coming out first? We expect it to be Hexis, but if things don't go to plan, if they end up with some McLaren starter motor issues, which are issues that they've solved now, but ran into a lot last season.
Well, we'll soon see, because the belts are being tightened down. Alexander Sims just whatever the adjustments he has done with his right hand as the lead Ferrari continues, coming up to the 2-hour mark, minus 3.5 minutes. So Cesar Ramos did a great job to take the lead from that lead McLaren, the Hexus McLaren, and has driven a pretty flawless stint. And we'll hand over whether he's coming in this lap or he'll continue. I mean, I would certainly keep him out there in the car. He's got the momentum.
And here comes, now that's a greatly reduced gap. Well, it's probably about 3.5 seconds, the gap between the Hexus and the Mark VDS. So I think it's a very similar gap as it was before. That's the other Mark VDS flashing through, and then there is Maxime Martin. Now, what kind of pace can the Belgian ace pull out of that BMW Z4? That's going to be the interesting thing to watch. Now, this is interesting because Hexus Racing are trying to lap Marcus Pautala here, and they are battling for second place with Maxime Martin, and Pautala in the number 4 Mark VDS is holding up the number 7 Hexus at the moment.
No, he's going to have a chance if he plays it correctly. Out of turn 2, get the run into turn 3, but he's not really close enough. He'll let the gap open up between the BMW.
And, oh, look at that. I think the BMW let him go through in the end.
He did.
But Alexander Sims unhappy with that.
Well, you know, racing drivers, if you thought he was happy, you'd be criticising him. And if he's unhappy, he puts his hand up. Ferrari's still staying out on track. We're over the under the 1 hour remaining, and the Ferrari, as long as he got fuel in this car and he's still able to run, he's running in the high 208s, 208.9, 208.8, and that's with traffic. So he's in the groove, he's got the rhythm, and the longer he can stay out and do these kind of times, then the less pressure there is when it comes to Daniele Zampieri to get into the car and hopefully continue the progress. And there we see Ferrari now. This time they are awaiting the lead Ferrari. 44, Cesar Ramos makes his way down into turn 14 and just gets out of that corner, and then he will peel off on the exit. There it is, into the pit lane.
Okay, so into the pits comes Cesar Ramos to hand over to Daniele Zampieri for the final stint of this race. Let's hope everything goes to plan in the Kessel pit stop. As John said, they've really improved their pit stops this season, having struggled a little last year. Ramos is in. Ludwig stays out. He's going to be handing over to Alan Day when he comes into the pits. But let's focus on the Kessel pit stop. That's a
bit casual, isn't it?
Wasn't it?
I mean, what was that engineer thinking he's doing? A car coming in and he just sort of meanders across. So Cesar Ramos undoes the belts and sort of tumbles out, and Daniele Zampieri gets in. And the crew allowed to assist with the belts. The crutch strap, of course, fundamental, getting that into place. Then the shoulder and lap straps are attached, so they go together. And then connecting up the radio and all the other connections. In some cases there will be a drinks bottle that's got to be plugged in. Sometimes the driver takes it and inserts it himself, other times it's done for him. There is the McLaren Alexander Sim. So can Ferrari get this job done? And it's going to be tight.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a walk in the park by any means. There is the McLaren.
Well, there's Sims coming into the final corner, actually, so this is a little bit tighter than we perhaps anticipated. And this could be an opportunity for Alexander Sims to move into the lead of the race. Out of the pits goes the Kessel car. They are right at the end of the pit lane. Here comes Alexander Sims now. The battle for the lead of the race goes the way of Hexus. They've managed to pull it around in the pit stops, and Alexander Sims now leads.
Well, he's done a good job. He struggled to get past some of the back markers, but he finally did it. One of the BMWs was, let's say, not as cooperative, but he's finally got through, and now, with all the good work in the pit lane and some strong laps from Alexander Sim, again running in the high 2 minutes, 8.6, 2.8, 8.7, 8.8, and disappointment for the Ferrari, who had a comfortable advantage over the rest of the field. They've lost that time primarily in the pits, but of course it's all about in laps as well as it is about out laps.
Up into Seeing Curve comes Sims leading the race. Then second place is this 44 Kessel Racing Ferrari now.
Fire in the garage,
fire in the pit lane. And well, the marshals are on the spot.
Where did that
to
come
sort
from?
that out? And well, that was the sister Kessel car that had come into the pits. I think the 111 car of Giacomo Petrobelli. But that was dramatic for a moment there, wasn't it?
Certainly was. Difficult to tell where.
It was Francesco Castellacci who'd come into the pits.
What's difficult to tell is what actually caused the
They're going to carry on.
Well,
it looked as though it was almost coming from one of the. I'm sure it wasn't a tyre, but it was very much in the garage, wasn't it?
In the garage, indeed. Now, whether very often your brakes get extremely hot, whether when they took the wheel off, I don't know. I'm just trying to second guess.
Yeah.
Certainly, that was drama for the Ferrari team, and well, they've got to work on it and extinguish it. You can see over the back of the right rear of the car. Last thing you want to see is a fire in a garage. It's, if it gets control, it's pretty unpleasant.
So, Castellacci hands over, and out of the pits goes the car, and now in the hands of Andrea Ceccato. Everyone is okay, which is good news. Into the pits then has finally come car number 88, Jordan Grogor, handing over to Leon Price. So that gives Max Martin the clear air, but he's got 11.5 seconds to find in 40 minutes, so it's a big one. Well, but if he can find if anyone can do it.
Look, there's no question if Maxime Martin can get what the remaining 39 minutes of this race in relatively clear air, there's no doubt he can ebb or eat into that advantage. But you know, getting there is asking for an awful lot. It's out of his control. It's going to be simply about where you meet traffic, how efficiently you can get through it.
And there is the Belgian, Maxime Martin.
Well, look, you can see, look at the gaps. One lap 69, 2.8 seconds.
Yeah. So that was that. Well, that was that last lap.
That was last lap with all the traffic. So you know that's the key, is just managing the traffic, reading it, making sure you use it, and don't run up to the back of a group of cars at a particular part of the track, such as coming into the chicane where you've got 4 cars ahead of you and you're stuck, and everybody else is just completely free to run up to the tail of your car. Zampieri 1 lap ago, he thought he had the lead of this race on the exit of the chicane. This time the gap is, well, the best part of 3/4 tenths of a second.
I'm afraid to say, for this race, the 44 Ferrari has now been removed because there's a 10-second stop-and-go penalty for car 44, which is that second-place Ferrari of Daniele Zampieri for pit stop infringements. So presumably in that chaos with the fire, they did something that they shouldn't have done and forgot to put a tyre down gently behind the line, or some infraction like that.
That's disappointment, because the entire Ferrari driver lineup have done a stunning job all afternoon, and there you can see the frustration, disappointment on the pit wall.
My apologies, it was the other Kessel.
I thought it was.
Yeah, it was the other Kessel Ferrari that had a fire. So yeah. I'm not sure what the pit stop infringement
we don't know
was.
what that was at all. But clearly there has been a technical or a regulation infringement. So the 44 car battling for second place is going to have to make a drive through less than 20 minutes now of this race remaining. You can see the look of disappointment on the face. Cesar Ramos, who did a blinding job. We didn't get to see what might be a reason for that infringement. So it puts Maxime Martin into quite a good position, because when the Ferrari peels off, is he trying to get a...
He's still trying to get past, though. I don't know whether Zampieri's been given the information, because he's got alongside, going into the long right-hander of 6 and 7. And not quite close enough, though.
Maxime Martin just out of camera shot. There he is.
Whoa,
so
he's going to get second place now.
Way wide. And
here comes Martin. He's going to move up into second place. And that's just took advantage, really. Although the Ferrari's got good straight line speed. We saw Bas Leinders couldn't hold the inside line under braking for the chicane, but Max Martin can. And he moves up into second position then. So, I mean, that's helped us a little bit, because that removes Zampieri from the lead battle, both on track now, to reflect the top stop-go penalty he'll have to do. So now it's between McLaren and BMW for the lead of this race, with 18 minutes to go. Here is Zampieri coming out of the pits, having served his stop-go. No, he's just coming in to serve it now. So this will be interesting to see whether Stephen Kane moves up into third place now.
This is a time stop-go.
Yeah, 10 seconds.
Yeah. And the
Out
only
goes
good news is that he is literally at the end of the pit lane, so...
And is that Stephen Kane there? Yes, it is. So Stephen Kane up into third position now.
But it'll be interesting to see. We've got a Mercedes just getting in front of the Ferrari. Can Sampieri, with the pace that Ferrari has had, can he reclaim third place? Can he put a challenge onto the Nissan of Stephen Kane? 16 minutes remaining, and it's all getting very exciting. Maxime Martin, of course, in second place, 1.3 seconds behind the lead. Alexander Sim, McLaren. Still a lot of racing in these closing moments.
And there's an off. That is the 42 Audi of David Halliday for Sainteloc Racing. So he was running not towards the front of the order. 40th place, David Halliday was running. Oh, he's got a
right rear, left rear puncture. That's
more than a puncture. It's gone, isn't it?
So either he had the puncture or that's...
Oh, there's the lead! Maxime Martin has moved into the lead of the race. He's done it out the back of the circuit, or in the final sequence of corners where we saw he's done it at turn 11, hasn't he?
Well, he's coming out of scene, and he must have got the run down the inside. So let's look and see. There he is. How much quicker he is out of scene. And then Alexander Sim, does he have a problem in the middle of the corner? He just runs wide, and then Maxime Martin, so much more grip, can keep the McLaren on the inside. And Alexander Sim, because he's on the left-hand side of the track, is powerless to stop the BMW from coming through Baz Linders. Well, Baz, there's a smile on your face there, and that was a great bit of motor racing. Didn't even look like it was going to be possible, but Sim got hung out to dry on the outside of turn 11.
And there is our Pro-Am leader. And David Dermont, despite having contact in the early stages of this race, is still leading the Pro-Am category. You can see the standings down at the bottom there. He's a minute ahead of the 32 Nissan in the hands of Steve Doherty.
Yeah, and remember, there's only been two drivers in that car this afternoon. True. Frederic Verviche and David Darmon. I mean, that's a tough afternoon to work for a two-driver race, so they've done a superb job.
Here is our leading gentleman. And at the moment, at the wheel of that number 20 Sofrev Ferrari is Patrick Guzlard. And the car he shares with Jean-Luc Public. And they are comfortably ahead of the second place gentleman's car. The final corner on this 5.8 kilometer Paul Ricard circuit is turn 15. The checkered flag is being readied. Marc VDS Racing and Maxime Martin see the checkered flag and win the third round of the Blancpain Endurance Series. Bas Linders and Jelmer Berman embrace. Bas is the teammate, the team boss. Great second place for Hexis. They'll be over the moon with that. Alexander Sims, Alvaro Parent and Steph Dusseldorp coming across the line in second. We can hear from Maxime Martin. He's down in Parc Fermé with John Watson.
Maxime Martin, congratulations. How pleased are you with that result today?
Yeah, it's fantastic for the whole team. We had two bad races at the start of the season. Now victory, so we come back for the championship. And yeah, it's great for before Spa, and it's great for the team. I think it's the good moment to win.
Let's have a look at the results then. After 81 laps of racing here at Paul Ricard, it's a BMW on the top step of the podium. The top 5 positions, all filled with 5 different bands. It's the Marc VDS BMW of Linders, Berman and Martin taking the win. Dusseldorp, Sims and Parent second, and then a good 40 seconds back to Lucas Luhr, Stephen Kane and Peter Dumbrecht, but that JRM seemed to finally be getting on top of their Nissan. A shame for Rigon Ramos and Zampieri, but I think they'll still be leading the Pro Cup points. Ludwig Buch and Alan Day, fantastic debut to the season for them. If they're out in the Spa 24-hour race, they will certainly be a force to be reckoned with. And also, big shout out to SMP, 6th place for them, for Alexander Scribe and Alexei Basov and Alessandro Pierre Guidi. But the big bad news of the weekend was WRT, really. 9th place finish, the best they could do. Ortelli, Vanthor and Rast, and there you can see Dermot and Verviche in 11th place, winning the Pro-Am Cup. Then we've got the 32 Nissan, second in the Pro-Am Cup, and that was in the hands of Steve Doherty, Mark Shortsitsky and Alex Buncombe. Marc Henrici, Masson and Soule managed to finish in 14th place, and then third in the Pro-Am Cup was Gottfried Grasser, Gerhard Therese and Harry Prochik. There you can see the number 6 Phoenix Audi, a pro lineup. Oliver Jarvis on the podium last weekend in Le Mans. He, Christopher Haas and Harold Premack can only manage 17th in the race overall, just ahead of Gudi Vanelay and de Moustier in their number 12 ART GP McLaren. And then the other WRT car, Nicky Menhoff, Rahul Fry and Matt Halliday, down in 21st place, was ahead of the other Mark VDS car of Pautala, Moser and Piccini. This really is a podium of the teams that are back in business. But Bas Leinders, team manager of Mark VDS, driver of Mark VDS, lifts the trophy aloft. The drive of the race, for them anyway, was Maxime Martin taking that victory. And a big cheer, the top step of the podium, David Darmon and Frédéric Verviche. So a very successful afternoon of racing for the Gentleman's Trophy. Thank you very much for joining us here at Paul Ricard. Make sure you join us for the Spa 24-hour race coming up at the end of July. But from myself and John Watson, goodbye.